everyone, and welcome to today's Deep Dive. We're going to be talking about drones and their role in defending against WMDs. So, kind of a cheery topic,
Yeah.
but, super relevant.
Yeah.
And to help us kind of go through all this, we're going to be looking at a book called Aerial Guardians by William Burns, published just this year, 2024. And it's a really interesting look at how these unmanned vehicles, we think of drones, have kind of evolved over time from just basic reconnaissance tools to now being these really sophisticated systems that can detect and even disarm, the most dangerous threats out there.
Yeah, and one of the things that's really fascinating is just how far back this concept goes. Burns traces the use of drones for these purposes all the way back to World War I.
Yeah, it's amazing to think that, those really early rudimentary drones were the precursors to what we have today. Can you give us a little bit of a rundown of how drones evolved over the 20th century?
Sure, yeah. So in those early days, they were primarily used for observation to provide a bird's eye view of the battlefield. But as technology progressed, they were equipped with more and more sophisticated cameras and sensors. And I think the turning point really came in the late 20th century, particularly after the Cold War, when the threat of WMDs in the hands of non-state actors became a major concern.
Right.
And that spurred a need for continuous monitoring of sensitive sites, which drones were perfectly suited for.
So rather than sending, humans into these potentially dangerous areas, you could just send a drone to keep an eye on things.
Exactly. It offered a safer and more efficient way to monitor nuclear facilities, chemical plants, other locations where a small incident could have catastrophic consequences.
Yeah, Burns highlights how important this shift was from a reactive to a proactive defense. Instead of waiting for something bad to happen, the drones allow us to constantly monitor and assess these potential threats. What I thought was really interesting, too, was, how you were talking about the integration of AI and advanced sensors, and it's like they're evolving from just these simple observers, these intelligent systems that can make decisions.
Yeah, that's a key point. The combination of AI, powerful sensors, sophisticated algorithms is really revolutionizing how we approach WMD detection and disarmament. Drones can now analyze huge amounts of data, identify patterns, even predict potential threats before they materialize.
Incredible. It's like straight out of a science fiction movie.
It is.
But before we get too far into the world of AI-powered drones, I think it's important to just kind of take a step back and make sure we're all on the same page about the different types of WMDs that we're talking about.
Of course. So the book focuses primarily on three main categories: chemical, nuclear, and explosive devices.
Okay.
And each type poses unique challenges. And drones offer specific capabilities to address each of those threats.
Let's start with chemical warfare.
Yeah.
It's terrifying to think about, but Burns really paints a picture of the potential devastation these agents can cause.
Right.
But he also points out that drones equipped with specialized sensors can play a crucial role in detecting and monitoring these threats.
Exactly. So imagine a drone equipped with a hyperspectral imaging system. It can fly over an area, analyze the light reflected from surfaces to detect the presence of specific chemical agents, and then that information can be used to alert authorities, take steps to contain the threat.
So it's not just about detecting the presence of a chemical agent. It's about identifying the specific type.
Exactly.
Which is crucial for determining the appropriate response.
Right. And because drones can operate remotely, they can gather this information without putting human lives at risk.
Right.
Which is a significant advantage when you're dealing with hazardous materials.
Absolutely. And then there's the threat of nuclear weapons, arguably the most devastating WMDs in existence. Burns emphasizes the importance of continuous monitoring of nuclear facilities to prevent proliferation and potential accidents. How are drones being used in this context?
So drones equipped with radiation detectors can fly over nuclear facilities and surrounding areas to monitor radiation levels. They can also use thermal imaging to detect any unusual activity. And this real-time data provides really valuable insights into the security and safety of these sensitive sites.
It's like having an invisible watchdog, constantly keeping an eye on the most dangerous materials on the planet.
Yeah, and a very efficient watchdog. Drones can cover these vast areas much faster and more cost-effectively than traditional methods, making them an ideal tool for nuclear monitoring and safeguards.
Burns also dives into the world of explosive devices, particularly IEDs and other types of bombs. And he describes how drones are being used not only to detect, but also to disarm these threats, which really minimizes the risk to human life. Can you talk a little bit about the technology involved in this?
Yeah, so it's this fascinating blend of robotics.ai and precision engineering. Imagine a drone equipped with a robotic arm, capable of manipulating small objects. It can approach a suspected IED, analyze its structure using advanced imaging techniques, and then use specialized tools to disable it remotely.
That's incredible. It's like something straight out of a spy movie.
It is, and as these technologies continue to advance, we can expect even greater capabilities in this area. Drones will become even more adept at identifying and neutralizing explosive threats, further reducing the risks to human bomb disposal experts.
So we've seen how drones can detect chemical agents, monitor nuclear facilities, even disarm explosives. It's clear they're already having a significant impact on WMD defense. But what about those real-world case studies Burns mentions? Can you share some examples of how drones are being used right now to combat these threats?
Absolutely. The book highlights several compelling cases where drones have played a critical role in real-world WMD scenarios. One striking example involves the use of drones to monitor chemical stockpiles. In active conflict zones,
Okay.
imagine a volatile region where tensions are high, and there's a risk of these dangerous chemicals falling into the wrong hands or being accidentally released.
That sounds like a recipe for disaster.
It is.
How can drones help mitigate those risks?
Drones equipped with chemical sensors can provide continuous surveillance of these stockpiles. They can detect any leaks, unauthorized access, or suspicious activity. This real-time data allows authorities to respond quickly and prevent potentially catastrophic events.
It's like having an extra set of eyes always on alert, even in the most dangerous and unpredictable environment.
Precisely, and the beauty of drones is they can operate in areas that would be too risky for humans to access.
Another example Burns mentions is the use of drones to surveil nuclear facilities, especially in politically tense regions, where the risk of proliferation or sabotage is high. It's like having a neutral observer constantly gathering information and providing a sense of reassurance.
Yeah, and they can act as a deterrent simply by being present. They send a clear message that these facilities are being monitored, which can help to prevent potential incidents, and they can also provide valuable evidence in case of any wrongdoing.
Burns also highlights the use of drones to disarm IEDs. That posed a direct threat to civilians and military personnel. And these are the stories that really bring home the life-saving potential of this technology.
Absolutely. The book describes a case where a drone successfully disarmed an IED that was planted near a busy marketplace. And the drone's ability to analyze the device and remotely disable it prevented a potential tragedy.
Wow. These real-world examples really highlight how drones are no longer just a futuristic concept. They're actively saving lives and making the world a safer place.
Yeah.
But we're only scratching the surface here, right?
That's right. The power of AI is rapidly transforming the capabilities of drones in this field. We're seeing the emergence of drone swarms, AI-powered analysis of massive data sets, and even predictive capabilities that could revolutionize how we approach WMD defense.
It sounds like we're on the cusp of a major technological leap forward. But before we delve deeper into that fascinating world of AI and drones, let's take a quick break to process all this incredible information. And when we come back, we'll explore how AI is taking drones to a whole new level and what that means for the future of WMD defense.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned.
So welcome back to our deep dive into the world of drones and WMDs.
It's been a fascinating journey so far.
We've talked a lot about, these machines becoming so vital in protecting us from some really terrifying threats, and how AI is kind of pushing those boundaries.
It's been eye-opening for sure.
But as with any powerful technology, there's always, another side to the story, a side that's full of complexities and tough questions.
Yeah, Burns doesn't shy away from those complexities in Aerial Guardians, which I really appreciate. It wouldn't be a proper deep dive if we just focused on all the shiny new tech without considering,
Right.
some of the potential downsides.
Absolutely.
So let's start by untangling the web of regulations surrounding drones, especially, those used in WMD defense.
Okay.
It's not like we can just have all these AI-powered drones
Yeah.
buzzing about in the sky with no rules.
Right.
Airspace management, privacy concerns, international laws. There's a lot to consider.
It is, and it becomes even more complicated when you factor in the sensitive nature of WMDs. I mean, think about it. A drone operator is preparing to deploy a UAV for this critical mission. Maybe to monitor a nuclear facility or track a potential chemical threat.
They're on the front lines of this whole thing.
Exactly. But before they can even launch that drone, they need to navigate this complex maze of regulations. They need to think about airspace restrictions, obtain permits, adhere to specific operational limits, coordinate with various authorities.
It sounds like a logistical nightmare.
It can be, and as drone technology advances, those regulations need to keep pace, which isn't always easy.
What are some of the biggest challenges that operators face then when it comes to these regulations? Because Burns mentions international treaties, national airspace laws,
Yeah.
organizations like the UN and the OPCW. It's a dense landscape.
It is, and one challenge is just the sheer variety and sometimes conflicting nature of these regulations. You have these international treaties that provide a broad framework, but then you have national laws that can differ wildly from country to country.
So what's permissible in one place might be illegal in another.
Precisely, and that makes international cooperation incredibly difficult, which is a major obstacle when you're dealing with a global issue like WMD proliferation.
It's like trying to solve a global puzzle with everyone using different pieces.
A very apt analogy. And then you have the issue of airspace management. The skies are already crowded with commercial flights, military aircraft, other aerial vehicles, and integrating drones into this complex system requires careful coordination and sophisticated traffic management systems.
I imagine that gets really tricky, especially as the number of drones in operation continues to increase.
It does. And of course, we can't overlook the privacy concerns. Drones equipped with these high-powered cameras and sensors. Gathering data raises some serious questions about surveillance, data security, the potential for misuse.
Right, it's a delicate balance between security and individual rights. How do we ensure that these powerful tools are used responsibly and ethically?
That's the million-dollar call, and it's one that Burns grapples with in the book. He argues that we need these robust ethical frameworks and clear guidelines for the use of drones in WMD defense.
He also delves into, the specific ethical considerations surrounding drone warfare. If a drone malfunctions or makes a wrong decision, who's responsible? What are the implications of using autonomous weapon systems? These are weighty questions with no easy answers.
They are, and as drone technology continues to evolve, these questions are only going to become more pressing. We need to have these open and honest discussions about the potential risks and benefits of this technology to ensure that it's used for good and not for harm.
It's not just about the technology itself. It's about the choices we make and how we develop and deploy it.
Exactly.
But Burns isn't all doom and gloom about the future, is he?
Not at all. In fact, he's quite optimistic about the role that drones can play in creating a safer world. He envisions a future where drones are even more integrated into WMD defense, but a future where we've also figured out the regulatory and ethical challenges.
So what does that future look like? What trends and predictions does he highlight?
He talks about even more sophisticated autonomous capabilities. Drones that can analyze situations, make decisions, and act even more independently, becoming true aerial guardians, as the book's title suggests.
It's both fascinating and a bit unnerving. What are your thoughts on the increasing autonomy of these systems?
Well, it's a double-edged sword. On the one hand, greater autonomy allows drones to operate more efficiently and effectively. In these complex and dangerous environments, they can respond to threats more quickly, cover larger areas, make decisions based on real-time data.
But on the other hand?
On the other hand, it raises concerns about accountability, control, the potential for unintended consequences. We need to ensure that these autonomous systems are designed with these really robust safety protocols and ethical guidelines to prevent them from becoming a threat in themselves.
Right. It's like we're giving these machines a lot of power, and we need to be very careful about how we manage that power.
Precisely. Burns also predicts a future where data sharing between countries is much more robust. Imagine this global network of drones all feeding information into a central hub, giving us a real-time picture of potential WMD threats around the world.
That sounds like a powerful tool for international cooperation and early warning.
It is, but it also raises questions about data security and privacy on a global scale.
Absolutely.
I agree.
These are complex issues that will require careful consideration and collaboration on a global level. We need to find ways to share information effectively, while also protecting individual rights and preventing the misuse of this data.
Burns also predicts more robust international regulations, these common standards for drone operation that everyone agrees to. So cooperation is much smoother.
It sounds like a daunting task.
Yeah.
But essential if you want to harness the full potential of this technology, while also mitigating the risks.
It is a daunting task, but I believe it's achievable. I mean, we've seen international cooperation succeed in other areas, and I'm optimistic that we can find common ground on this issue as well.
What about your own predictions, based on your expertise and the trends that you're seeing?
I think we'll see a greater emphasis on swarm technology. Imagine hundreds, even thousands of drones working together, coordinating their movements, sharing data, acting as a collective unit.
That's both amazing and a bit terrifying.
It's like a hive mind in the sky.
What are the potential applications of this technology in WMD defense?
Well, they could blanket an entire city monitoring for chemical agents, or create a virtually impenetrable shield around a nuclear facility. They could also be used for search and rescue operations in disaster zones, or for environmental monitoring in remote areas.
The possibilities seem endless.
They do, but as with any powerful technology, there's always the potential for misuse.
What about counter-drone technology? Is that something we'll see more of in the future?
Absolutely. As drones become more prevalent, so will the need to defend against them, especially if they fall into the wrong hands. We're already seeing the development of systems that can detect, track, and neutralize rogue drones.
So it sounds like an arms race, but with drones instead of missiles.
In a way it is, but it's also a necessary step to ensure that this technology is used responsibly, and that we have the means to protect ourselves from those who would seek to use it for harmful purposes.
It seems like with every advancement, every new capability, there are even more questions that pop up. It's a never-ending deep dive.
It is, and that's the beauty of it. There's always more to learn, more to explore, more to understand. And as drone technology continues to evolve, so will our understanding of its impact on global security and the challenges and opportunities it presents.
It's a journey we're all on together. But for now, let's take a moment to absorb all this fascinating information and get ready for the final part of our deep dive, where we'll wrap things up, ponder some big questions, and of course, leave you with some more food for thought.
I look forward to it.
See you soon. So welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into, drones and their role in WMD defense. It's been quite the journey, hasn't it?
It has. We've gone from these very basic unmanned craft to talking about their potential as these, AI-powered guardians, as Burns calls them.
Burns ends Aerial Guardians with some really thought-provoking observations about the future of all this technology. He argues that drones are already having a big impact, but their role in WMD defense is only going to get bigger in the coming years.
He's right. I think we're at a pivotal moment right now with this rapid pace of technological advancement and the increasing need to, address these complex global threats makes drones a crucial element of future security strategies.
Yeah, it feels like we're entering a new era almost of warfare and defense where drones are right at the forefront.
But as we've talked about, it's not just about the technology, it's about how we use it.
Right. The human element is crucial. Developing the right regulations, ethical frameworks, international collaborations. It's paramount to ensure that these powerful tools are used responsibly and effectively.
Burns makes that point really clearly. He says, we're essentially handing humanity this very powerful weapon, and we have to figure out how to use it wisely.
One of his most compelling arguments, I think, is that we need to kind of shift our perspective on drones. Instead of seeing them as tools of war, maybe see them as tools for peace.
That's a good point. It really highlights their potential to, prevent conflict and promote global security.
Imagine a world where drones are constantly monitoring for WMD threats.
Yeah.
Providing early warnings, acting as deterrents, facilitating international cooperation.
It's an ambitious vision, but I think it's achievable. The technology is there. We need the political will and the global cooperation to make it happen.
It's inspiring to think about, but it also kind of begs the question, what can we as individuals do to help shape this future?
Burns suggests that knowledge is power, especially when we're dealing with such a, transformative technology.
Yeah, staying informed about these developments, engaging in these thoughtful discussions, demanding ethical and responsible use of these systems. It's crucial. We all have a role to play in shaping this future.
It's about being informed citizens, asking critical questions, holding our leaders accountable.
So, for our final thought, something to ponder as we wrap up this deep dive. We've talked a lot about the potential of AI. Drones becoming more autonomous, even making decisions without human intervention. But what happens when those AI systems become so advanced that they surpass human intelligence?
That's a good question. We're getting into the realm of, artificial superintelligence, which raises some profound questions.
Right. Imagine a scenario where we have these incredibly powerful drones controlled by an AI that's smarter than any human. Who's really in control then? What does it mean for our understanding of power, responsibility, the future of our species?
These are questions that go way beyond, the scope of this deep dive, but they really highlight the implications of these technologies that we're talking about.
It challenges us to think deeply about the future that we're creating, the choices that we're making.
We may not have all the answers right now, but asking these questions is essential if we want to navigate this uncharted territory responsibly.
So there you have it. We've explored the history, the technology, the challenges, the ethical dilemmas. We even peered into the future of drones in WMD defense. It's a complex and ever-evolving landscape for sure. And as Burns puts it in Aerial Guardians, it's a journey that's just beginning.
As we move forward, let's approach these advancements carefully, with curiosity, with caution, and with a commitment to shaping a future where technology serves humanity.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep exploring this topic. Keep asking those tough questions. Engage in these crucial conversations. That will shape the future of drones and their impact on our world. Until next time, happy deep diving.